Okay. I want to talk about uh, futility of existence. For most of my life, I have suffered from what I would call an affliction of the futility of existence, which I suppose could be a normal event, but I didn't seem to have much support around asking these questions, let alone resolving these questions or coming to some sense of peace in terms of the people that I knew of, or school, family, church. And the pain around this futility of existence is devastating enough if you have people to talk with about it, but if you have no one to talk with about it, it's like a living nightmare where you wake up every day and confronted with the crashing in, I call it reality, of futility of existence. I can remember the first instance that I remember the first instant that I remember of this happening was, I think it was my brother and sister. They asked me to play cards, and I'd always loved to play cards. And when they asked me this time, it was like, what's the point? Why? Why should I play cards? It doesn't matter. Zooming forward to today, I got to briefly know this person in Facebook land on a certain group. They posted to the group, which has many members. I don't know how many members, maybe 1,000 members or more even. He posted about the futility of existence and how his life was miserable, and he looked around. He was living, I think it was either India or Bangladesh, and he looked around the place where he was living. He saw all these, homeless people on the streets, barely eking out. I don't even know if you could call it a living. Hand to mouth, day by day, scrounging. And he came from a relatively wealthy family that could afford a place to rent. He complained about the impossibility of society in terms of allowing you to have a life worth living. He also talked about suicide, that if he had a gun that he would use it against himself. And the vitriol and backlash, or not even backlash, just inane responses from this group that supposedly is a progressive group, it astounded me, and it baffled me. Out of the whole group, I was the only one that was actually really listening to him. And I messaged him offering, we could chat or whatever and talk through the issues, because when I was listening to him, I heard myself. It was me, and he was around the age that I sort of went through all this. So he was 16, 17, no, 15 or 14. I'm 41 now. And he was opening up a conversation that I wished I could have had at his age. So I sort of got excited about it. I thought, wow, I can finally have this conversation with somebody that knows. I delayed it. I delayed talking with him because it was sort of a paincrastination. That's a word I made up with my friend of mine. I think made it up, and I've used paincrastination as opposed to procrastination because it's sort of about delaying pain. So I paincrastinated, sort of messaging him, because this is a big piece of my life. And he ended up committing suicide with his sister. The circumstances were a little bit suspicious for me, but there's enough, background that it's quite feasible that it was suicide. And people are committing suicide all the time. And these people aren't crazy. They come to this sane response to an insane circumstance or reality that they find themselves in. But here is what I actually wanted to talk about with this video. I was walking back from an appointment, and it dawned on me that there's been a pattern set up, developed a long time ago, and sort of in place, where I do things for other people. And the dawning of awareness was, I need to, for other people's benefit. So I need to, it's a fundamental shift within me to do things for my own benefit. And when I thought about this, the futility of existence came into the picture. That if I'm doing things for other people's benefit, it is like a futile. You're living a life of futile actions. So no matter what you do, you are going to get no benefit from what you do. and in some way, I'm seeing that maybe there are two types of futility, whereas in the muddle mass of my life, it's all been a big ball that I've classified as futility of existence. But within this light, it's possible there are two types of futility, and I'm just seeing this today. I've spoken with my brother about this, and he's recently come to this conclusion that nothing matters. And I told him, well, that's sort of what I was confronted with way back when I was 15, 17. And he made a statement that was new to me. He said, well, maybe if you've been abused or had significant childhood abuse, it gets you to this truth quicker. So he's saying that there's a fundamental truth that life is futile, but a lot of people don't ever see this. But if you've been significantly abused, or you're in circumstances where you are disempowered significantly, you get to this futility of existence quicker. In a sick way, it's like an aid to come to see the truth of the futility of existence. This sort of was what I gathered was his point. But what I was seeing today on my walk was, if I'm doing things for everyone else's benefit, there's a futility of existence in that feeling, that inner attunement, the inner drive where I've put it in place that I need to do things for the benefit of others first, or at all times. And if I turn it back into doing things for the benefit of me, it's almost as if this futility, there's a futility of existence that disappears. And as I was processing this, I thought, well, hold on a sec. It can't just disappear. Because I've said before that, you do something or you don't do it. You love someone or you don't love them. You get married or you don't get married. You have children or you don't have children. You grow old or you don't grow old. You pursue a dream or you don't. You realize your dream or you don't. And you struggle and you come out victorious or you don't. You fail or you succeed or you don't. And then here's the equalizer, and then you die. So why do any of it? What's the question comes, what's the point? When I've discussed this with a lot of people, if they are religious or they believe in an afterlife, this question is solved, so they don't even know what I'm talking about. They can't even hear where I'm coming from, because this is not even an issue in their world paradigm. But if you are agnostic like I am about what happens after death, then this is sort of the to my mind, the logical reasoning. Now, I've tried to discuss this with confirmed atheists, agnostics, and I've gotten a few responses from these people. But the main response that I seem to be getting from these people is, you create your own meaning. As if that solves it. Create your own meaning. The other thing is that when you speak to people that are convinced, they're not agnostic, they're convinced there is no afterlife, they talk about enjoying life. Enjoying life. That solves the issue of futility. Enjoy your life. This young man that cut his own life short, he was opening up these questions of futility, and the response now on Facebook is not a good sample of humanity. But it was a big group, and there seemed to be an extreme lack of ability to even go to these places. It's possible that maybe the reason why, in my experience, there's been so few people that even can have a conversation about the futility of existence is maybe it is too painful for most people to even consciously touch. My other sense of it is maybe there's a whole bunch of people that are confirmed atheists, but they've never really become in touch with their mortality. That they're almost living in this sort of dream world where they're sort of not invincible, but death doesn't matter. They don't think about death that much. Which is, if you're an atheist, I would think this would be one of the main things you would want to be contemplating. And I guess maybe they've solved it. They've solved the issue. There is nothing after death. And then they find purpose out of their own devices. They create this purpose for themselves. So on the one hand, on this walk, so this is the sort of generalized futility I'm talking about, the idea that whatever you do, you're going to die anyway, so what the fuck? Why do anything? That's the generalized. But today I saw that, I don't know how much a big a piece of this, and I'm not going to say maybe it's all of this, but it seemed like a big deal that if one ceases to do things for the benefit of others all the time as a imperative, as a demand, that all actions must be for the benefit of others, and shifts the focus like a 180 on doing things for the benefit of yourself or benefit of me, there's a significant alleviation of this weight of futility. It disappears. And I wish, number one, that I would have had some type of mentor at the age of 15 or 17 for many things, but some type of mentor that they might have been there, but I couldn't hear them. They might have been there if I was looking, but I was unable to. But if I could have had like some way to connect with a mentor that explained this, what I've just sort of discovered as maybe a big piece of this futility puzzle at the age of 41, that if you have the ability to do things for yourself where you get to gain the rewards of your own work, which sort of sounds like common sense, and that it sort of sounds like this should be the norm. It's quite possible that this is an abnormal reality where you actually can do things that for the benefit of yourself. And I'm wondering how much of this is a function, like I'm thinking a main component of this is the societal structure, the culture, the economic of the economics of your society, of your country. So I wish I would have had a mentor that could have said, "Hey, Sorrowheart," that's my pseudonym. I'm not going to give you my real name. Sorrowheart, you know, if you can just survive this maelstrom of abuse and get out on your own and give yourself permission to do things for the benefit of yourself, this will resolve a lot of this futility conundrum. That's, you know, just have one person. And this individual that killed himself, if I could have been talking to him now, and I could share with him what I just sort of am finding out now at the age of 41, as what I am seeing as a truth, a truth serum, a truth salve for this futility question, and say to him, if you can find a way in the miserable circumstances that you see in your life to do things that can benefit you, this may alleviate a bit of the question of the futility of existence. As I hear myself saying this, there are other issues that come up for me, such as doing things for the benefit of you may help with the futility of existence in a certain aspect. But I also recognize that for people that are sensitive to others and seeing the pain of others, there can be a sort of empathy issue when you're looking at the sort of futility of the masses that you sort of see. You see them as a group, a great big group, where they're living sort of futile lives with no hope. So it's one thing to solve this futility issue for your own self, but if you're sort of empathic, then you're also going to be concerned about the futility for a lot of people that you see around you. So what I'm saying is I recognize that there is no vacuum, that if I'm talking about a solution for myself in terms of futility, it also, at a certain point, needs to include a solution for society and a solution for the globalization that we are being forced into, some of us against our better judgment and will. That's another topic. So that's it. That's my little bit on futility of existence, and I wish this young man could have stayed alive, and I could have had this conversation with him to let him know about this little truth that I just uncovered. That may sound so simple and obvious, but it on a deep level, it's really, at least for me, I can only speak for me. It's a big sort of a big breakthrough awareness